I'm grilling New York strip steaks today, one of my favorite things to cook in the summer when it's nice enough to grill outside. And it's a really simple marinade of a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, just about a quarter cup, a couple of tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, and a couple of tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. A little bit of rosemary, and you just can pull the rosemary leaves right off the stems. And a little bit of salt and pepper. And you want to make sure you salt and pepper both sides of the steak. So usually what I'll do is I'll turn it to coat and get the marinade on both sides of the steak, and then put a little bit of additional salt and pepper on the other side. And I'm going to let these sit here for a few minutes. If you have time, it's really good to marinate these for about an hour. But if you don't, often I just throw them on the grill after a few minutes of marinating. I want to talk a little bit about how I start my fire. I like to use a charcoal chimney starter to start the fire. It's really easy to use. You just fill it up with charcoal and put newspaper underneath. It lights really quickly. And you don't have the fumes of using starter fuel, so it's a really nice thing to use. And a lot of times if I'm pruning my rosemary bushes, I'll save the cuttings from the rosemary and just bundle it together with a twine, and I keep it under my grill, and it gives grilled meats and chickens a really wonderful flavor. It's a really nice thing you can just throw right on the fire. I usually put it over to one side of the fire so you just get that nice smoke from it. And the flavor of the rosemary goes throughout the meat. If it starts to flame up a little, just move it over to one side. So we're going to put the steaks on. When you're cooking a steak, you want your fire to be really hot. And a really hot fire means you can only hold your hand over it just for like 2 or 3 seconds. So we're going to put the steaks on, and they're going to cook on the hot part of the fire for about 5 to 6 minutes per side. And if your fire starts flaming up, just put it out with a little bit of water. While the steaks are cooking, I like to pour the remainder of the marinade over them. And then after they've cooked for about 6 minutes, you want to flip them over. Pour the remaining marinade over the cooked side, and then continue to cook them for about 6 more minutes on the hot part of the grill. Once the steaks have seared on both sides, you just want to move them to the part of the grill that isn't as hot, and continue to cook them for about 7 to 8 minutes longer for rare. The internal temperature should be around 110 degrees, and a little bit longer, maybe 3 or 4 more minutes for medium rare. And the internal temperature for medium rare is going to be about 120 degrees. Once the steaks have cooked to medium rare, you just want to remove them from the fire and put them in a container or on a plate, and you want to let them rest for about 5 minutes. You never want to cut any kind of piece of meat when it's really hot off the grill, because the juices will stay in the meat, and the cut of meat will be much more moist if you do not cut it while it's really hot. So always let it rest for about 5 to 8 minutes before slicing it. We're going to serve our New York strip steak with a little bit of horseradish mustard sauce, and this is a really easy sauce to make. I used to make this when I had a catering business in Connecticut. You're going to start with about 2 tablespoons of prepared horseradish, grated horseradish, and about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. Now this is a really fun place to use all those wonderful flavored mustards that are out there today. There's so many great different kinds that you can try. This is a cracked pepper and lemon mustard that I'm using. It'll just give your sauce a little extra bit of zip. We're going to add about a 1/4 cup of buttermilk. Now you could use mayonnaise or heavy cream, but I like to use the buttermilk because it gives the sauce a little bit of tartness. And about a tablespoon of sour cream, and this will give it the creaminess it needs. And we're going to add about a tablespoon of freshly chopped rosemary. And this, we marinated the steaks in rosemary, so this just brings the flavor through that dish. And a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm going to add a little less pepper than I ordinarily would because my mustard has pepper in it. And you just want to stir all this together until it's combined, and it just makes a really nice sauce. All the flavors go really well with the steak. The steak has a wonderful charred flavor from the grill. And you can make this ahead of time and just keep it refrigerated until you get ready to serve it. It's always important to let the steak rest for about 5 to 8 minutes before you slice it. It makes the meat much more moist. So right before you get ready to serve it, you just want to slice the steak into nice thin slices on the diagonal. You can see how wonderful and juicy this looks. I usually count on about a half a steak per person. And you really don't need a lot more with a meal when you're serving steak. Often I'll do something like mashed roasted sweet potatoes or a little baked Yukon Gold potato as a baked potato. And you can just put this right on the plate with a bed of simple greens. It's really good too as a luncheon salad to serve it on top of the greens. And then you're going to just spoon a little bit of the sauce right over the steak and on top of the greens if you like as well, and a little bit around the plate. And then you could finish that off with just a little bit of fresh salt and pepper. When I make steak on the grill for dinner, I usually make a little bit of extra so I can have it either as dinner the second night or for lunch the next day. So when you're preparing your fire and your grill, it's always good to cook a little bit extra. If you're going to go to that trouble to make a fire in the grill and prep the meat or chicken or fish, whatever you're cooking, just make a little extra and you can always have it the next day for lunch. This is one of my favorite things to do with leftover steak, and there are a lot of things you could do. Often I make it into a salad with roasted potatoes and grilled onions. Sometimes if I just have a tiny little bit, I'll make a breakfast quesadilla with nice cheese and eggs. But today I'm going to make a soft taco with leftover steak, and it's very simple to do. You just take a flour tortilla and heat it on your grill. One reason I like to do it over an open flame, it requires no oil on the tortilla, so it's much healthier for you to cook it like this. If you don't have a gas stove, you could also do it on an electric cooktop. Just do it in a cast iron skillet. And you just want to heat your tortilla up enough to make it soft so it'll fold into the soft taco. And usually I just heat it, for less than a minute on each side, probably about 30 seconds. And you can see it'll just start to puff up a little, and that can go directly on your plate. And really you could fill this with about anything you want. Usually I put 3 or 4 slices of steak, a little bit of roasted red peppers. Now these roasted red peppers are great. You can buy these in most any deli these days at your supermarket. We're going to put a little bit of sour cream, a few fresh cilantro leaves, a little bit of mixed baby greens. You could put a few slices of avocado if you have a nice ripe avocado. You could put a little grated cheddar cheese if you wanted cheese in it. But this makes a great lunch. It's a great alternative to a sandwich. And then just a little bit of your favorite salsa. And again, you don't have to make your salsa. There's so many great salsas out there today that you can buy. And you can see what a great, filling, helpful lunch this is.